What's happening, guys? This is Mike at Let's Talk Comics, and today I am going to talk about my two favorite books that I read last week. Absolute Superman number 18 is the first one that I'm going to start on. And what I really liked most about this book here is I liked how they did the introduction to, they introduced Black Adam into the Absolute Universe. They did it in this issue. I enjoyed the flashback to ancient Egypt, as we see right here, and we see Teth Adam. I believe it's Teth Adam. We see him being raised as a slave or living in slavery, and him just being angry at all the injustices he witnesses upon his people, and him kind of lamenting about the fact that he doesn't have any power to do anything about it. And so he goes on kind of this quest to find this power, and he confronts this force. And what we see is that the force is not previously, like, when we see the Shazam family, we see them being granted their power by the wizard Shazam. Here it is a Brainiac spaceship, and they basically beam him onto the ship, and they talk about how they are going to experiment upon him. And it was really cool, the fact that they are the ones who give him his powers. It reminded me a lot of Miracle Man, how Miracle Man thinks he gets his powers from, by saying, saying his magic word, and in reality, he got them from some sort of super science project. And here we see the Brainiacs kind of doing the same thing. They tell Black Adam that all he has to do is say his magic word, when in reality they have him in some sort of, super science device or whatever. And so that's how he gets it. So it's framed to him, Adam, as getting it through magic, but we see that it's really the Brainiacs are doing science with him. Then we see Clark. He's back at his farm. He's basically kept one of the parasite little seed type things as a pet, so to speak. But we really get to the next part of the story I like right here. We see Ra's al Ghul again, and since the last time we saw him, he has turned another leaf, so to speak. He was rehabilitated by Superman, showing him kindness and compassion and understanding, and not basically granting him his wish, granting Ra's al Ghul's wish of, hey, I wronged you. You should go ahead and kill me and take me off the board. And Clark was basically saying, no, I'm not going to operate that way. So we see some more of the effects here, but we see his daughter, Talia, she shows up and to free him. And Ra's al Ghul tells her, don't free me. I need to be here. I need to be in jail. I'm trying to make amends, and she doesn't want to hear that. So it's very interesting to see the fact that Ra's al Ghul is on a path to redemption, only to be taken off of it by Talia al Ghul. So that is this, and then Superman shows up, and we kind of get more into the story or whatever. Then we meet the absolute version of Steel. He's got a big hammer. And then we see right here on this very last page, we see the lightning bolt here, and then Black Adam, or as he was referring to himself here as King Shazam, has risen. So that was some of the things I liked most about this issue here of Absolute Superman, one of my 2 favorite books from this week. And then the other book that I read that I was just head over heels for Daredevil. I read it last night, and it really, really blew me away. I felt very strongly about it. When I got done reading it, I told somebody that this is a book that I think is going to be very special. I know that is a lot. That's kind of a big statement to make with only 1 issue out. But man, just reading this issue, it really felt like something special. It really felt like, I'm talking like being mentioned in the same breath as Bendis Daredevil. You know, I don't want to say being mentioned in the same breath as Frank Miller Daredevil, simply because that run was so very long ago. You know, that run is like 40 plus years old, which, I mean, the Bendis run isn't terribly terribly new either, but it's a little bit more recent. But I read this issue and I was blown away by it. I love the artwork. I love this is the new big bad character here. He shows up on the very first page. But the thing that I like most about this issue, and Stephanie Phillips, she really takes this book back to basics. It is an incredible book, and I think what makes it incredible is its simplicity. We have this introductory scene here of Daredevil. We get brief rundowns of his powers, his origin, what he can do or whatever. This type of scene here, we've seen this type of scene in Daredevil comics frequently. Him, not web swinging or whatever you want to call it, on patrol or whatever it is over the city, landing on a car that's being hijacked or, that has crooks in there, whatever. Him using his radar sense, him using his enhanced abilities, him using his billy club. And like he says here, this is not my first rodeo. This is hardly my first rodeo. It's all nearly perfect. Daredevil doesn't make mistakes. And it's just such a really cool back to basics introductory scene. And I just dug it, all of it, so much. Here we see Matt Murdock's new profession. He's teaching law school, or he's teaching law class at a college. A brand new atmosphere for him to be in. No longer is he running a law firm with Foggy Nelson, but law is still involved, so we still have that tie to the original or to the classic Daredevil stuff. And I think that's one of the things that I like most about this book is Stephanie Phillips. She gives us classic Daredevil. She gives us, like I said before, she brings it back to basics. Daredevil, fighting crime in New York, background in law, enhanced abilities, swinging over the city, and she just, it's so refreshing. It's so refreshing. And like what this, she kind of references, Stephanie Phillips, she kind of references it. She goes, everything feels so similar, but it's different. I'm at a local bar. but it's not Josie's. I'm meeting an old friend, but it's not Foggy Nelson. I'm teaching law school, but I'm not a lawyer. It's uncanny. And I think that's really, self-aware writing. Stephanie Phillips, she is referencing the fact that she has taken Daredevil back to basics, but with subtle twists. Of course, we get the obligatory, whenever a new writer starts a book, they have their new supporting characters. So we have the new college best friend. We have, as we saw back here, the new members of the police department. We saw Matt's new flirt, his new love interest or whatever in the classroom. But I went head over heels for this issue. It's not the most... It's not really bogged down with dialogue and, thought balloons and people talking and everything. Like, just from looking at these 2 pages right here, she lets the art tell a lot of the story. She doesn't try to overcomplicate things. She has a real good relationship with this artist. They seem to be really vibing well off this first issue. This was really cool scene right here. We see kind of like a breakdown of him and all his outfits. The classic red, the original yellow and black, the little kind of do-it-yourself outfit, then the armored type outfit he wore for a little bit. Then we run into the new big bad here again. But like I said, this issue right here, I found it incredibly strong, and it really blew me away. And the thing that blew me away the most about it was its simplicity, its return to the basics of the character. The previous volume of Daredevil, I didn't finish reading it, but I read a handful. I probably read about the first 10 or 11 issues, and Matt was a Catholic preacher, or father, or whatever the term is. He was at a church preaching. He was looking over kids that were like in an orphanage or whatever it is. I don't know how that last run turned out, and this is the really cool part here about comic books. As I always say, that's not even mentioned at the start of this. And it doesn't take away from this run. It doesn't take away from the previous run. It's just, we're just going to wipe that off the table. We're not even going to talk about it. It was a thing. We did it. That was a previous run. Now we're switching it up, and we're going in this direction right now with the current team. But it's the same character, and it's just, so many people I see today saying, these stories are confusing. These stories are confusing. There's too much continuity, and everything is bogged down. This Daredevil is a prime example. That previous run was incredibly convoluted. And then this issue right here is just like, nah, we don't really have to talk about any of that. I'm going to explain everything through my storytelling, through thought balloons, and I'm going to bring everybody up to speed just in the pages of this book. You don't need to know nothing else about what came before. Just brilliant. Stephanie Phillips, brilliant work. I'm really looking forward to this. And like I said, I don't want to put the cart in front of the horse, but I really do have a feeling that this is going to be something special right here. It's only one issue, and I hope I'm not wrong. I hope I'm not jinxing it, but I really, really am looking forward to the rest of this book right here. So those were my 2 favorite issues from last week. Hopefully you guys read a bunch of cool stuff. And I will talk to y'all later. Have a good night. Bye-bye.